and we've just had to say, I'm sorry, ourselves. To one of our newsreaders, Chris Barth, because we were saying that in the newsroom they always do this, and she said, I've never done that in my life, so we both had to say, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. So what is the very best way to say you're sorry? Well, here with all the answers is psychologist Clare Mann. Clare, why is it so hard to say I'm sorry?
It's intriguing, isn't it? And so many people do actually find it almost impossible to say sorry. It's almost as though they feel they're sort of less than by admitting that somehow, you know, I'm in the wrong. But of course, it's a bit on upbringing as well. If you've got a parent or a family situation that people sort of nod their head and say, well, I told you so, it doesn't exactly encourage people to do this. And I think people also feel that people are going to say, I told you so, and then it will never stop. They won't appreciate it.
Claire, is there a formula to a good apology?
Yes. Well, a lot of people sort of look at the way you shouldn't do it. You know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. They look away, they don't have the good eye contact. So I always say, look the person in the eye, you know, orientate your body language towards the person. Do you know, I really messed up on that. I'm sorry. I made a mistake, and explain it. And allow the other person to respond in the way they need to. You know, they have a right to their feelings, but don't just suddenly back down.
And we're saying there, slow your voice down.
Yes, you mean I should slow my voice down? Maybe I should.
No. That's the other thing that's a good one. I'm sorry. That was my fault. I'm sorry, man.
I'll just practice it.
So when you say, I'm sorry, make sure you're not, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it needs to be slow and measured.
Be present with the other person. You know, look them in the eyes and say, you know, put some thought into it. Don't sort of say it as it was a last-minute thing that somebody's forced you to do. You know, I really am sorry. I was late for our lunch today. I know I've let you down before, and I'm going to do everything I can not for it to happen again.
Because sometimes when you say, I'm sorry, there's nothing that another person can do after that. You know, you've said you're sorry. You know, for them to come back to you and say, yeah, but you were late for lunch and that really made me cry. I'm really sorry. What else can somebody say?
Well, I think it's a good thing to repeat it is, you're absolutely right, I was in the wrong, I'm sorry. If the person goes on and tries to put you in the wrong, you can actually start to talk about their behaviours. Do you know, I'm kind of struggling with this. I genuinely am sorry. I want to make amends. I want us to make up. But everything I'm saying to you, you're kind of not accepting it. What's going on? So you get them to be accountable for their response.
Do you think we apologise too much in Australian society? Because you say it all the time. I mean, it's just an easy word to throw up. Oh, I'm sorry. But it didn't really, you're not really.
That's right. And it sort of loses its power, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it can be a sort of backhanded sort of thing. But some people, of course, apologise too much. They almost want to take up less space in the world. They sort of perhaps avoid conflict. They anticipate it. So they bump into someone, oh, I'm sorry. And it therefore is not always genuine, of course. And then they end up taking responsibility for everything that's happening. Other people aren't paying their part in it.
What if you're on the back end of an ingenuine apology? What if somebody is apologising to you, but really you know that they don't mean it?
Yeah, well, it's about calling people on their stuff, isn't it? You know, they've said it and you don't quite think it. You could say, you know, I can hear you saying sorry, but you kind of got a smile on your face, and it's a bit bewildering to me. Are you really sorry? Do you really mean this?
Yeah.
Again, you make the other person accountable for what they're saying, but without it to a defensive voice or being aggressive.
Is there ever a time that you shouldn't say, I'm sorry?
Well, I'm sure we could spend all evening talking about this one. I think it's something to do with values. If, say, for instance, you hold very strong values that have a lot of integrity or make a stand about something. I'm not going to apologise about not going on with domestic violence, for instance. So you wouldn't necessarily be, I'm sorry I hold these views. You may sort of say, well, obviously we don't see eye to eye. So also don't take on responsibility for something that really isn't yours. You're not doing other people a service by not allowing them to be real and genuine.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Or if you don't mean it. All right, Claire, thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire.
I think that you need to say, I'm sorry, more genuinely to me and slower.
I do all the time. I'm constantly apologising to you.
I'm sorry.
I'm not allowed to do that.
I'm sorry for that as well. Okay, we're going to be saying a lot of I'm sorry. Next one.